All right, welcome back to the channel, everyone. Today we are going to do a preview of some suspension components that are going on the C5R. So I know previously I've done a lot of forecasting on this car in terms of what our plans are to update and upgrade the car. Currently the car does have, currently the way the car sits, it sits on LG Motorsports G2 coilovers with Hyperco springs. It's on spec Corvette T1 sway bars with white line end links. The car has been upgraded. C6Z06 calipers with Coleman rotors. These rotors are the dual piece rotor hat. Has an aluminum hub, so they save about 7 pounds per corner versus a traditional C6Z type of rotor. So the car really handles great already. However, as part of building this car over time, we were able to come across the suspension that the previous owner had bought. The previous owner had suspension for updating the car, so we figured why not use that. Many of you might ask, well, if the car already sits on LG G2's T1 sway bars, well, what is the advantage of updating? Well, there's a couple, and I'll go over that here shortly. Unbox the parts that we have, lay them out, and then we'll kind of cover down why we're installing these parts and what ways they'll help the car handle better. So again, this is just something where I'm just doing a preliminary overview of the parts. I plan on having these parts installed later this month, and what I'd like to do is give you guys before and after impressions. Now, I've driven this car before on the channel, and I don't think I did a video where I had the T1 sway bars on there, but once I put the spec Corvette T1 sway bars on this car, it was clear to me that I needed a seat, because the car became just the turn in, the body roll was virtually eliminated, and it was almost eliminated to the point where, like I said, anytime you would turn in on a corner, the thing would just immediately respond. The way this car sits is it has C5R aero. It's a stock LS6 motor. It's got some weight reduction mods, but nothing gutted to where you cannot drive the car. The car is not functional. She does sit a little bit low. She is a wide body car, so that's through use of L5 fenders, which allow a 335, 30, 18 out back, or 19 out back currently, but the car previously had 20-inch HREs on a 335, 25-20 Michelin tire. The way we have it set up now is it has a set of Goodyear F1 supercar tires. When we move up to the front, it's on a 18 by, I believe, a 10 or 11, 75, 35, 18 up front. So the car has a C5R carbon fiber hood. It's got some C5R front lower aero. The trim molding has been removed. It's got a bunch of body work done to it. The car is completely painted. Right now it's just a bone stock factory LS6. It's got a Braille lithium ion battery. Car handles great already. So let's check out the parts, and you'll see why I decided to press with installing the suspension components. So starting off, here you can see the LG Motorsports billet aluminum drop spindles. These things are incredibly light. The other thing is they do not, they're just going to be a lot stronger of a piece than a factory cast aluminum upright. The other thing with this is it lowers the car without interfering with the suspension geometry, so that is another plus. And you can see a monoball or spherical bushing there. Another trick thing about these LG billet drop spindles is just, I mean, again, they're incredibly light, and you won't get the deflection that you will with a factory cast aluminum spindle. And again, just the improved suspension geometry while lowering the car at the same time. The challenge is when you lower the car on the factory spindles is, although you can gain some improvements in handling, you tend to really throw off that suspension geometry. So really looking forward to seeing how that's gonna ride in the car and how that's gonna, just the benefits in ride and handling there. Then moving on, next piece out of this is the SKF hubs. Now, many of you guys know that these hubs are another part where you can upgrade in the Corvette suspension thing. This is actually a 33 spline hub, so we'll have to make sure that that is a workaround that we can adapt that to the C5. SKF hubs are approximately, they'll last about 3 times as long as the factory hub. So again, just another way to reduce deflection and beef up the suspension. Moving over here, you see we got a set of Progress inlays. Now the car currently has, these are a little bit, I like these because the spherical inlinks and the design there, but also they are beefier than the inlinks that are on the car. The car currently has white line inlinks, and white line inlinks, you know, they're adjustable, but I believe it's like a forged, or I believe it's like a cast steel or cast aluminum. Anyways, when I put the T1 sway bars on there, I tried to get it to a neutral setting as much as possible, but it actually broke the right rear end link because of the during cornering. So love the T1 sway bars. I think these end links would probably be a better solution than the white lines. So these are made by Progress. AF hubs, the spindles, and the end links came from LG Motorsports. So shout out to LG. The next piece of this suspension kit is we are running Penske. Penske coilovers are single adjustables. These are a nitrogen filled gas shock. Penske makes really good hardware. Now these came from G-Speed. These are a G-Speed spec, and these coils have been powder coated by the previous owner. He was going to put this on a ZR1. So ZR1 color is, you know, that blue. I'll eventually have these powder coated back to red for Z06, for the Z06 theme, or yellow for C5R. But for right now, I'm not too worried about it. So you can just kind of see the quality of the Penske shocks. These are spec by G-Speed, so if you go on their website, you'll see exactly what these are. Here's the engineering paper that comes with these shocks. So you know if you're buying something from G-Speed, the stuff is already dialed in. And I'm not an engineer, so I'm not even going to pretend to go over that or review it. That's something I will read up on and learn about. But for those of you who already kind of know about this shock valving geometry, there you are. And here's the other Penske engineering paper on the shock. So I'm just going to do a quick scan over it. If you want to pause the video, go ahead and take a look at that. But that's what's going on as far as the struts and shocks. So again, nitrogen filled strut. Moving right along, here are the upper and rear strut attachment links, and then you see the grade 8 bolt. So nothing, that's pretty straight up there. And then another thing that I decided to get was the AMT camber lockout kits. These are eccentrics that allow you to, these are adjustable and they lock in place. These tabs, you can see the degree angles on these eccentrics. So what it does is it locks in the tabs where the control arms mount to the cradles or the subframe, both front and rear subframes. So you can dial in some really good caster camber on this, and it allows you to get more than stock. But these aren't going to move. Apparently, under certain loads, suspension sometimes on the C5, C6, and C7 C5, C6, and C7 suspensions, the camber eccentrics have been known to move, and if that happens while you're in a corner, it can really throw the car out of alignment, and it has been known to cause drivers to lose control on track. So it's not only is it a safety thing, but it's also a improvement on camber. So you can see it comes with a set of shims. So pretty straightforward. AMT makes really good stuff. Another thing that I would like to get from AMT eventually is their low seat mounts. They have the lowest seat brackets for the C5, C6 Corvette, and C7 Corvette. Their seat mounts allow you to literally sit your seat on the floor to get down low in the car. So that's something, me being 6'2", I want to make sure that I have enough room in the car with the helmet and a little bit of breathing room. So anyways, definitely look forward to using more parts from the AMT catalog. And moving right along, another part on Corvettes are the bushings. So you have your upper and lower control arm bushings, and those are just rubber lined bushings from the factory. Borg Motorsports, shout out to them. They were highly recommended bushing kit to utilize. LG, Spec Corvette, G-Speed, and AMT Motorsports all offer bushings, so I think all of them would have been a great spec. But what these bushings do is they're Delrin, so they really dial out that flex. Delrin may offer a rougher ride, but that's not something that I'm too worried about. So pretty straightforward, but you can see the stuff's really trick. So this is something that'll be so yeah, that's something that'll go in the car, and definitely look forward to having that installed. So I think that pretty much just about covers all the suspension components of the car. So a couple other things I could do is a tow arm. Bear makes one, AMT has one, and I think that's probably, that I can think of, already it. So mind you, the car already has Spec Corvette T1 sway bars with their urethane bushing, and right now it's got LG Motorsports G2 coilover. So those will be coming off the car, and those will be up for sale in the marketplace here soon. But I just wanted to give you guys a quick overview of an update for the car. This car will not be a fast build, it'll just be a gradual over time. If you check on the channel, there's a few other videos that I did. We have a C5R block ready to go for this thing, and so we'll start assembling and accumulating parts for that motor, and then we'll start assembling. And the engine build that we're planning on doing with this car, I want to make 700 to the tire, and I know 700 to the tire all motor is not an easy feat, especially if you want to fit it under a low profile hood. Now this C5R hood does have a higher profile than, let's say, your factory C5 hood, but it's still not, it's not a cow hood like you would have, let's say, in a it's not a cow hood. So there's a few intakes that I'm really starting to look hard at to see, because when you're doing a motor that makes that kind of power, you don't want the intake manifold to be the choke point. If you're trying to fit all that package in a Corvette, you either need to lower the engine, and they do have engine mounts that lower the engine about 1 inch. You're not going to get too much out of this because you don't want to throw off the geometry. Again, the Corvette has the motor, then it's got the torque tube all the way to the transaxle, so you're only going to be able to lower the motor so much. But going back to the intake, when you're running a motor and you're trying to move that much air, you have to have a combination of runner length, but also plenum volume. And so as the plenum volume needs to increase, well, so does the height of your intake. So right now I'm looking at the carbon intake. I think it's Carbon XR. It's a plastic LS7, or it's a carbon fiber LS7 style intake. Also looking at the LME billet LS7 intake, and then also the Plasma Man. So I know there's a couple others that I believe will move the type of air that we'll need for a motor to breathe 800 horse. I think if we can get 800 to the flywheel on this thing, out of the C5R block, I believe we'll be able to see about 700 to the tire. Not an easy feat, but it is doable. An LS7 style head is the head that I'm choosing, just because I believe it moves the most air. In a traditional LS7 block, those blocks are kind of known for being limited on the amount of power they make, but a C5R block will be able to handle all we can throw at it, especially NA. It's a Gen 3 block as well. I'll link the C5R block review in the description, so for those of you who haven't seen the previous video on the review on that block, you'll be able to see it there. The heads, now that's another thing. If you want to make 800 plus on motor, I'm thinking 14-1. Definitely got to figure out some serious valve train, but for the cylinder heads, I'm either kind of got it lined up to a Brodix BR7, maybe a 265 or a 283 cc intake runner. I have it down to a Dart Pro 1 LS7 head. That's another head in the running, and also an all pro head. The main thing is I want to make sure, one of the reasons why I'm not looking to run a factory LS7 head is because when you have that much, the valve springs and the rocker arm geometry is going to put a lot of pressure on the rocker stand area, and factory castings only have so much material than, let's say, like a Brodix or a Dart, where they add a lot of material because they know people will be running shaft rockers in that type of system. So not interested in a factory LS7 head, although it can flow. When you really start turning that head up, you're limited on material in the rocker stand area, and you're also, you know, limited on how much air you can move through those heads before you start punching holes. And now you're in the water jackets. So I'm not interested in any of that stuff. So as you know, one thing leads to another. When you add power, it all goes downhill, affects everything downstream. So after that motor build, we're gonna have to figure out a transmission and diff combination. Ideally, I would have liked to have bought the RPM level 5 with C6, Z06, and ZR1 gearing with the Quaife differential that the previous owner sold, and that was a huge mistake by me not to jump on that. At the time, I was, you know, waist deep, up to my waist in the build with the Falcon, so I really didn't have, you know, that much. You know, I was buried in the Falcon, so, and not understanding the C5 platform the way I do now. So anyways, we'll figure it out. We'll just pay double. That's what normally happens if you don't move on something the first time, or when the price is right, you order it new with shipping, tax, and, you know, 1 for 1 on the dollar, you end up paying sometimes twice, if not 3 times as much. So anyways, another option for that might be C6 Z06 transmission. I'd like to get a C6 ZR1 trans and diff preferably, but, you know, finding those are like finding unicorns. They made less than 5,000s, and you don't find too many wrecked ones. And normally when you do see them, they are 4,500 on up. So anyways, that's what's going on with the C5R. I say that with air quotes. I'll link other videos in the description that has to do with parts reviews on this thing, and some other videos if you guys want to check it out. That's all we got for today. Thanks for watching. We'll see you soon. Take care.